Hello, welcome back. And it's great to have Lyle Shelton joining us from Canberra. How are you, Lyle?
I'm doing really well, thanks, Kent. Good to be with you.
Now, Lyle, we've seen this very public breakup between Jackie Lambie and the Palmer United Party. Do you think our expectations as a public have needed to drop when it comes to the behaviour and civility of our politicians?
Look, I don't think they should ever drop, Kent. I think we should always maintain high expectations of our elected leaders. This has been a very unsavoury breakup over many weeks and even months now, as what seem to be two very large egos have been clashing. But having said that, Jackie Lambie has this week given a fairly gracious speech of resignation from the Palmer United Party. She's now moved to the crossbenches as an independent, and this is going to make the government's task of getting legislation through the Senate even more difficult, as Clive Palmer will control less numbers in the Senate, and it means the government's got to negotiate with more crossbenchers.
Yeah, OK. Now, Lyle, if I can just take you to South Australia for a moment. An attempt's been made there to decriminalise prostitution. That's failed in state parliament. Now, of course, different states and different countries deal with this issue differently. Are there clear best practice principles when it comes to reducing the harm of prostitution?
Look, I think the evidence that we're seeing emerge globally is that the answer to your question is yes. In Sweden, Norway, Iceland, and several other countries around the world, Canada being the latest, a new approach to prostitution and brothels has been taken where the force of the law is coming down upon men, not on women who are seen as the victims of an inherently exploitative system. And so these countries are not legalising brothels as we've been doing in Australian states, but they're actually penalising the men. This has resulted in a dramatic reduction in street prostitution, in a dramatic reduction in harm to women, and importantly, these countries have become a far less attractive destination for sex trafficking. This evidence is very clear now, and it's great that in South Australia a bill to try and legalise brothels has now been delayed as a result of some lobbying by ACL and others to cause the South Australian Parliament to reconsider the approach that has failed in other parts of Australia.
Yeah, of course, the argument is, Lyle, that when you have, this sort of, criminal behaviour, whether it is the prostitute herself or the person purchasing, that pretty much you push prostitution underground where it can't be controlled, where people are incredibly vulnerable. Is there some validity to that argument?
It doesn't seem like it, Kent. Certainly that's not been the experience in Sweden, where this has been in place now since late 1999, the early 2000s. It seems like it's been a very, very effective policy approach, which is, as I said, focused on the men, and it's allowed women to be free of this exploitative industry and helped out of the industry. I mean, you'll never totally eradicate all bad things in society. You'll never totally eradicate murder, but certainly this policy approach has been far more effective in reducing the harms of prostitution, where legalised regimes have actually resulted not only in a growth of the legal industry, but the blossoming of the illegal industry as well, once you give that sort of official sanction to the idea that it's okay for a man to purchase a woman. So certainly there's lessons to be learned, and I think we should continue to follow the example of what we're seeing working well in these overseas countries.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, thanks for your time today, Lyle.
Pleasure, Kent. Thanks for having us.